So it is my absolute pleasure to welcome Dileep Marway, who is VP of Engineering and Technology at And Digital. And I believe he's brought some Lego along with him tonight as well. So I know this is going to be a lot of fun. Please do think about your questions through the talk as well. Don't be shy. If you're thinking something, everybody else is as well. So we'll look forward to that at the end as well. Thank you so much, Dileep. Can't wait to hear your talk.
I'm going to give you a Lego. There we go. Thank you. So let's start off with a question. So according to the World Quality Report, in 2023, what percentage of total IT budget was allocated to QA and testing? So who wants to have a guess? There is some Lego to win. So does anyone want to take a guess? Let's take some hands. Go for it.
I'm going to say it's low, 20%.
Cool, okay. Anyone else?
30.
Cool. Let's take a couple more while we've got time.
3%.
Anyone else?
10%.
And let's take one more.
6.
Okay, the actual answer was, haven't got any drum roll, so I won't make a noise. 32%. So you are our winner over there. Thank you very much. You can build it now if you want. I won't be offended in any way. So what's interesting about that is in 2000, it was actually 22%. So it's actually grown in that time. I personally would have expected it to be higher. But yeah, that is interesting. It has definitely grown, and it's been growing over the years. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be talking about particular things. Firstly, my career journey, then quality failures and their impact, why quality matters to the C-suite, an engineer's role in QA, tips to enhance your QA approach, and AI and QA. So yes, if everyone can just enjoy the ride, enjoy your popcorn, sit back, put your phone on silent. I've always wanted to say that. It's only because I'm in a cinema, so thank you very much. So a bit about me. So my name is Dileep Marway. I'm very passionate about using technology to solve problems and make things better. I build strong people-centric teams, and I connect leaders with tech experts. So personally, I've got 18 years of experience, and I really care about teams reaching their goals and succeeding. A bit about me personally. Hopefully no one's got any tomatoes, or they're not Birmingham City fans here. I'm actually an Aston Villa fan, massive Aston Villa fan. I love to build Lego, and that's an image there that I made on Midjourney, and the prompt that I asked was Aston Villa winning a trophy, a man with a beard, glasses, and a turban. So a bit of a QA fail there, because that's not a Villa top. It actually looks like a Hogwarts jumper of sorts. We are holding a trophy. You've got to hope these things, right? It's got to happen eventually. Okay, my career journey. So I started off and I studied pharmacy. Actually hated it. And I moved to computer science. Hated that as well. But my dad actually, forced me to finish off, and then I did computer science. So essentially, my analytical sort of mindset worked really well. It helped me in my journey. And that's why I thought, you know what, I'm going to be a tester. I'll enjoy this. It'll be great. Let's see where I go. So started off as a systems tester, worked for a SaaS automotive provider called Kalamazoo Reynolds. And then I moved to NFU Mutual, who's a insurance provider. Probably my favorite title that I've had in my whole career. So Management Intelligence Software Engineer. Sounds great. It was actually a data scientist. Title was great, absolutely loved it. Then I moved back to my roots, which was QA, at JHC, which was a shares provider. And then I moved to Signet, namely Ernest Jones and H. Samuel on the high street. So my wife was very happy because she got a lot of jewellery, and she tells me that every day now. She doesn't get any jewellery anymore. And then I moved to The Economist. So you may know The Economist as that old paper copy that used to come through the letterbox on a Friday. And I was involved in their digital transformation of a mobile app and a website such that they could move and grow their revenue and convert their users. Cloud transformation was key at the time, but I took all of my quality and testing mindset to actually grow this team in central Birmingham. Then I moved on to SHL, which is a SaaS provider of talent innovation, massive team in India, and again, quality was at the mindset of everything. So I thought, you know what, I've worked on a startup, I've worked on an enterprise, I'm going to set my own business up. And why don't I call it Be More Meerkat? Because meerkats are curious. And quality is a curious trait. So you'll probably see a theme here. And I worked as a fractional CTO in Saudi Arabia, which was great. Then I got to live my dream in 2023. I got to actually play on the Wembley pitch. Got to work with Gareth Southgate, which was great. What a lovely man. So he let me in the lunch queue all the time, every week. Yeah, that's what I remember him for. What a kind man. So I helped them with their digital transformation, and I essentially really pushed that customer-first mentality, and that's what mattered to my QA and testing role. And I carried that through into my senior roles. Recently, so my role at the moment, I'm working for Digital, which is a digital services provider, and we essentially want to sort of bridge that digital skills gap. And I'm helping CIOs, CTOs, and execs with their problem statements, again, with quality at the mindset. So some quality failures, and I thought it's worth sharing some of these. So there was a Facebook outage in October 2021, and I remember it fondly because my family WhatsApp groups were nice and quiet, and that was a nice quiet day. Now, what was the issue on the day? The router config change led to a cascading failure. Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp went down for 6 hours, and it affected billions of users. And there was a massive loss from a revenue perspective. The next one was an interesting one. So a fitness app encouraged laziness. Now, I don't need much to encourage my laziness, but yeah, I'll move forward from there. And what the problem was that there was a bug that miscalculated the steps. And I remember in one of my friends' group, one of our friends all of a sudden went to the top of the leaderboard. What he actually did was he put his watch in a cover and he put it in the washing machine, and he worked out as the washing machine was spinning, he was getting loads of steps. Pretty smart when you think about it. But essentially, users were receiving lots of failures. The other one that I'd add is failure can be catastrophic, and it can be massive. For instance, not the mouse up here, I'll get to that shortly. But essentially, I remember in 2018 or the early 2000s, there was a machine that essentially gave chemotherapy treatment to patients who had cancer. And what the machine was meant to do was actually give a sort of a designated dosage to actually help people. But what the machine was doing was there was a quality failure in there. Rather than giving the right dosage, it was giving the maximum. And sadly, 3 people died. So I just want to emphasize the fact that when QA does go wrong, and it can go wrong, it can be massive. We should really care about QA. We should care about testing. This next one is a bugbear for me. I'm sure some of you out there have seen this before. It annoyed the hell out of me. But when your mouse is out of charge, you need to charge it, plug it in, and then you can't use the mouse. So quality failure, something that should have been thought of better. Now, in terms of why quality matters to the C-suite, this is something that's personal to me, having worked in the C-suite. Essentially, what does a C-suite want? What does a company want? You want happy customers. You want quality products that really keep customers coming back. Now, I can think of, in my personal situation, my wife at the moment has filled the whole kitchen with with Ninja products. Now, why does she keep buying those Ninja products? It's because she buys one, it's great quality, and then she feels, you know what, I need to get another product. So we've got the Ninja Thirsty, we've got the Ninja Woodfire. I can keep going on with these Ninja names, I don't really get them, but yeah, every time I open a cupboard, there's a Ninja product in there. But great quality will mean that a company can grow their market and grow their products, and that's a great example. One product worked, let's keep going, let's keep expanding. Next one is saving money. So what does the company want? They want to enhance their product base. They don't want to be fixing things all the time, and they want to take their costs down. If something keeps failing, you'll have customers like me. This doesn't work, I want a refund. Essentially, it causes a problem. As I said before, staying safe. Staying safe, if quality is wrong, it can have massive issues. As I mentioned with the cancer patients, people losing their life. Also on aircrafts, we've seen in the news where things have gone wrong. It can be catastrophic. The next one is having that name and having that sort of brand image. It really matters. So having great products can attract more customers, and it can attract the right talent. Next one is standing out, so actually being ahead of your competitors. And quality can really help you to stand out. It really can make a difference. So when I was working in a C-suite, everything I thought of was, how can we give quality to our customers? What matters to us? And essentially, if you're giving quality, you're driving revenue. You're driving that fact that you can get more customers on board, you can have more products. It really does matter. So from an engineer's perspective, so what should an engineer's role be in QA? So having been an engineer myself, it's making sure that you actually care about the code that you cut. It's making sure that you see your code as a product in itself and you understand your customer. So imagine if you're building a shed at home. Would you build that shed from scratch and then say, you know what, I'm going to call someone to check that it's okay right at the end? No, you wouldn't. You'd be checking that quality all the way through. You'd be making sure that does it let water seep in? And thinking of my shed at home, probably had no quality thought because, yeah, when it rains, it's like a swimming pool, which is a problem in its own self. So next one for me is improving. So fixing things that don't work well. When something needs to be fixed, rather than letting those problems build up, it's important not to let that technical debt build up such that the whole system becomes unusable and you've got a bigger issue. So for me personally, it's important to really think about what's working, what isn't working. Let's reflect. Also, use feedback to improve. So do listen to your customers. I remember in that role when I was at Signet, namely Ernest Jones and H. Samuel, the best thing I could do was actually go out to stores, actually use the till systems, actually speak to customers, understand when we had an iPad and we were using that as a selling experience, was it actually enhancing the journey of the customer actually buying a watch, or was it a hindrance? So for me personally, going out and getting that feedback, being close to your users, told me a lot more, and it made me a better engineer ultimately. It made me understand the users, and that is very, very important. Next one is problem checking, so spotting those mistakes. So pairing up, thinking outside the box, understanding your architecture. Are there particular areas of the code where you're seeing the same defects over and over again? Is there anything we can do better? That's very, very key to actually think and take a step back when you need to. So from a tips to improve your QA approach, I've summarized some of these, and you've heard some of these before, I'm sure. So shift that testing left. Defects are cheaper when found earlier. What can drive that is essentially asking the right questions, thinking as early as possible. Can we do this? Is there value in doing it? Would a customer actually use this feature? The next one for me is QA is everyone's responsibility. I think that old school mentality of throwing it over the fence and then seeing if it comes back and seeing if we have to rework it, That's changed over time. Everyone should be caring about quality assurance. They should be learning, they should be pairing. Next one for me is prevention rather than detection. So in the past, I remember my role out of university when I worked for that automotive client. I remember firstly when I was checking that software, I thought, you know what, I'm going to test as much as I can. I'm going to try and find 200 bugs and everyone's going to love me. I'm going to be top of the leaderboard. But it was actually the wrong approach. The better approach is actually seeing what can we do as a team to prevent these bugs such that we work better. Prevention is cheaper. Prevention is more of a team ethos rather than a single-minded ethos, in my view. Next one is being curious and asking questions. For me, it helps in any role. It helps in anything in life. Try and learn off others. What are your product counterparts doing? What are your DevSecOps professionals doing? Asking your leaders strategically, how does my work matter? How can I make a difference? And then the last one is automating those repetitive tasks. So if you are manually testing, if you are doing a manual test and you're doing it over and over again, can it be automated? Can we take that time down? Can you use that time to actually think more efficiently? Because imagine if you could use that time to actually go out to a store, for instance, and understand what the customer does. That's far more useful than doing that monotonous task again and again. So think outside the box. There may be aspects that you've missed in your code. There may be aspects that you've not thought of in your architecture. So from an AI perspective and a QA perspective, AI in general it's exciting, right? There's loads of tools out there. There's already lots of value that is being added. I'm seeing lots of positive cases, but I'm seeing cases which are negative also. What I would say from my point of view is that AI is a great enabler, and it can be a great sort of pairing perspective. I've seen it as a really good pairing aid, as if I'm coding, for instance, and I'm using a AI tool. It's great in terms of thinking, have I started? Have I thought of the right aspects? I actually used AI when I was trying to put this presentation together to get some feedback, to actually see, is the formatting right? Am I talking about the right things? And that enabled me to flow and bring out my sort of thought juices. From a QA perspective, I'd say that AI will really make a difference from an automation perspective. Very much from a perspective that if AI is helping engineers, it will help QA professionals to actually automate and write that automation code, make it more efficient, make it better. And the AI code will only get better as it gets more feedback. As it gets used more, it will really add more value. Next one for me is AI-driven insights. And essentially in that piece, it would be making sure that we can predict defects. We can analyze user behavior. We can start to see that when we make changes in this area of code, we're seeing lots of defects. But when we make changes to this area of the code, everything seems fine. So what that can mean is looking at your enterprise architecture and looking at your solution architecture, it can improve quality in the long run. I was looking at a tool a couple of weeks ago, which was really interesting. And what that was doing was, rather than somebody raising an incident, it was mining the code, it was looking at the customer behavior, it was proactively finding problems before they became incidents, and it was telling you where in the code that problem was. It's giving you data science out of the box. That's going to be really exciting. It will make a massive difference. Seamless integration, so AI tools will integrate with your CI/CD pipelines for better collaboration. We've already seen there's been some great tools in the past, especially around accessibility, for instance. An engineer has taken their code, they've tried to push their code live, and then this tool has said, you can't commit your code because you haven't met a WCAG 2.1 AA standard. That's a great, powerful tool, and that's something that I expect from a QA perspective. Imagine if an engineer is trying to push their code out, but the tool actually says, if you do this, you're at risk of causing a massive defect, a priority one in this area. That will really help us, and that's where AI can really deliver. And from my last slide now, so I say thank you very much to everyone for listening. What I would say is feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of thought leadership articles with Forbes. If you want to scan the QR code, feel free. And feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to help people and answer any questions. As I said before, my main ethos is helping people. So yeah, I'd love to help people. And yeah, well done on winning that Lego. Enjoy.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dileep. That was so insightful and hopefully really helpful for everybody here this evening. Has anybody got any questions? Who's going to be the first one to kickstart for us? Don't be shy now. Anyone over here? Got any questions? Oh, brilliant. Thank you very much. Here we go. What would you like to ask?
Yeah, so I think you kind of touched on this already, but I was wondering, say, if you're working with a team, how it's helpful, how could you contribute to quality assurance if you're in a role that isn't so technical? So you mentioned from like an engineer point of view, but if you're, say, a designer, or like a research and product owner kind of role, like how can you be contributing to better quality assurance?
Great question.
Great question. So what I'd say personally is anyone in a team can be curious. So how I'd start off is actually understand your product and just start to ask questions. Why are we doing this? What's the impact on our customers? What?
I was going to ask, I wondered if you've got any examples of that you've seen, like within the teams that you've worked in, of anybody like doing that.
Sure. So generally what I'd say is if you've got the right agile ceremonies and you've got the ability where people feel psychologically safe, anyone can ask questions, that's the basics that I'd say that anybody who comes to that forum could say, what are we doing here? Pair up with your QA professionals, pair up with your engineers, do walkthroughs, try and understand your product. But for me, the best high-performing teams that I've seen haven't been such that it's just your QA professional who cares about quality. Everyone in the team questions, and they question early, and that has really driven the output. So I remember the case that I mentioned in the retail case. It was actually part of our induction that everybody had to be a store staff member for the first 2 weeks of the job. And that really helped to understand the customer, such that when we did have those agile ceremonies, whether you're a BA or whether you're in UX, you would come back and you'd say, we've made this change, but customer doesn't use the tablet in this way. If I was a customer and I tried to click here, it should be working, but when I press it, nothing happens. So I think it's making sure that you understand your user. Great question.
Perfect. Any more questions?
So where does So where does total quality management then quality assurance come in hand, if at all they do?
So normally what I'd say from a quality management perspective, when I was in those sort of C-suite roles, if you've got data which is overlaying the way that you work, so aligning your technology with your business processes and people, we would take some data and then we would use that data more as a quality management, which would then track in with quality in your system. So things like tracking how many escape defects are we having. And when I say escape defects, I mean how many requirements that were in scope have we tested, or have we actually had some that we didn't test and they've seeped through, for instance. So what I'd always say is if you could have those measurements, and you've probably heard of something like the DORA metrics, if you have those metrics at a high level, that gives you sort of the quality statistics, which mean that your team can actually move towards them. So in our role at The Economist, I remember we had a TV in the corner. And in that TV in the corner, we were tracking things like performance, security, accessibility, escape defects. And that was a really good measure because we were more proactive to incidents rather than being reactive. Really good question.
Thanks, Dileep. I'm coming to you so we can hear through the mic. Hiya. Thank you.
Thank you. As AI improves and companies rely more on AI to spot problems in their code, do you think the size of technical QA teams will decrease?
I'm going to get my steps in tonight, aren't I? Here we go.
Thank you. I think for me personally, I wouldn't say that the team's size will decrease, but I do think the quality of thought and the skill set that a QA and testing member brings will have to sort of enhance. So what I mean is, I've been in teams where I would pay anything to have those exploratory testers in my team because they have that quality of thought. For instance, if I was using an app, I can think of some of the great people that I've worked with in the past, and they would think of things that I would never actually think of. Things like multitasking. How many apps would they have in the background? Does it cause the app to crash, for instance? So I think for me, AI in general, not just in QA and testing, it will really push the fact that those people who actually have that quality of thought, that problem-solving approach and thinking outside the box, those people will come to the fore more, whereas those people who are probably just copy and pasting that code without thinking, that's where AI becomes more dangerous, right? Really good question.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your questions. Absolutely brilliant. And thank you, Dileep, as well, for all your insight. If you want to give a big round of applause. Thank you so much.